All right, we are live. I am Van Allen Plexico of the White Rocket Entertainment Network, and I am joined here tonight by David Wright. David, how's it going, man?
Awesome. I'm excited for the World Cup. The draw happened today, and I am hyped. I can't believe I have to wait till November. I'm excited to be on here to talk to you about it.
Yeah, we've had a slow build up the last few weeks. We've had some some very tense moments with U.S. qualifying matches every other day there for a little while. We had to play at Mexico, we had to play Panama, and then we finished up with Costa Rica, and that was interesting. And then right as soon as that was over, we go straight to the draw and find out who we're going to be playing in November and hopefully beyond. So. And there's several interesting things to talk about. So I think that what we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to look at the World Cup draw. We'll kind of run through the groups real quick and kind of give our reaction and dwell a little bit on the U.S., I think. And we'll also talk a little about this U.S. team, because honestly, I don't know a lot about this U.S. team currently, and I'm excited to learn something about it from you, who keeps up with it more closely. And we also talk a little bit about what we think about the World Cup. And I'll go ahead and kick that off by pointing out I am currently wearing. I own 3 U.S. jerseys. I own about 30 soccer jerseys overall, but I have 3 U.S. jerseys. And do you recognize this one by any chance? Would you guess the year? Let's see if you can get within 4 years of this one.
Well,
Um,
it's judging by the logo. I'm gonna say 2006,
hmm.
or it's either 6 or 10.
All right, you're a little too recent.
Okay, it's 98.
It is 98,
Okay.
yes, and it's actually. I always joke that this jersey is older than either of my kids. I've had it for a very long time, but it's the 98 qualifying jersey, and it was my favorite one they ever used because it's pure white Nike, but it's got the red and blue cuffs on the sleeve and the red and blue kind of, what do you call it, crew neck.
Right.
And I really like it. I ran out and got it. And when the World Cup started in 98, they switched to a completely different kit. So this is the one they used all the way through qualifying. So I was disappointed when they switched to a different one.
My favorite one they've ever worn is the 2002 kit. I really like that one. It had the blue and red on the ribs on the side here. It was
Okay.
it was white. It was kind of similar to that, mostly white with the blue and red trim, but
Yeah.
in different areas. With the number right in the center chest. I
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
I remember that one.
I like
It
that one a
almost
lot.
looked like a it almost looked kind of like a rugby jersey or something. It was
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, a
Like
little
this,
bit.
yeah.
And of
I
course,
remember that.
just because of everything of 1994, I've got a big soft spot in my heart for the denim look with the big stars and
I
the.
was just about to ask you what you thought about the classic denim blue with the white stars wrapped around them.
So objectively speaking, I don't think it's a great kit, but for
No.
nostalgia and for how important 94 was to us
Yeah.
as American soccer fans, just everything about that team and everything about that experience that year, that was just kind of a magical, like, coming of age year when it comes to the sport in America. And
Yeah.
I got a big heart for the denim and the Adidas, the 3 stripes on the primary kit that came over the shoulder. Um,
Mhm.
I've always liked the Nike kits a little bit better, but I got a big soft spot for that 94 team.
Yeah, the 94 World Cup was the one that I first started paying attention to. And I knew the 90 was going on, and I remember seeing highlights of the final between Argentina and Germany, the 1-0, and that Germany won on the free kick. But or was it a penalty kick? Penalty, it might have been a penalty kick. But anyway, 94 is when I really started paying attention. I actually went to 3 matches that year. I think we were at the same one, maybe in the group
Sure.
stage.
I went
Morocco,
to
Belgium.
one match. And I went to the Belgium Morocco match in Orlando,
In
and
Orlando.
yeah, and you were there too, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? That was
Unbelievable.
4 or 5 years before we ever met, and we were both somewhere in that stadium at the same time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's funny. My roommate in college and we were kind of keeping up with it. And we looked at the map and said, what's closest to Auburn, Alabama, where we were in school? And we decided Orlando was. So we just hopped in his car and just drove straight down to Orlando. And you could get tickets pretty easily because it was a big stadium. It was the Citrus Bowl. And we saw that game, and I was just like, I was not enthusiastic about either team, but I had a good time with the atmosphere and everything. And so I'd pretty much adopted Italy as my other team at that point. And so, it wasn't looking good like they were going to qualify. And then when they snuck through. But well, actually, I was at the last match day of the group. I went to Washington. I flew to Washington D.C. and saw Italy play Mexico, which was awesome. And talk about two groups of colorful fans, right? I saw that at RFK, where DC United would later play.
Jorge Campos was in the goal.
Oh yeah, yeah. And interestingly, it wasn't it wasn't Gianluca Pagliuca. It was the backup goalkeeper, because in the previous game against Norway, the Italian starting goalkeeper Pagliuca came out of the box and dove on a kick and got red carded. And so they had to substitute the backup goalkeeper in, and they pulled Roberto Baggio out to put in the backup goalkeeper. They just went pure defense. And so I think they ended up drawing 0-0, 0-0 with Norway. And so they had to tie or beat Mexico. But if they lost, I feel like if they lost, or if it was a tie, then they needed Norway and Ireland to tie 0-0. And so I feel like they lost to Mexico, or it was a tie. It wasn't a good outcome. So I remember getting on the subway back to the hotel, and all the Italian fans on the subway with me were just anxiously following reports from the other stadium, because it wasn't over yet. And all of a sudden they all start cheering, and somebody says, Ireland, Norway, 0-0. And so that was the only way Italy would advance.
Wow.
Was if those two teams tied 0-0, and they did, and Italy went on to extra time in the finals.
Right.
That's how crazy it is. Yeah.
That's crazy. So I don't think the World Cup was available to watch on television in America prior to 1990. I'm pretty sure that 90 was the first televised one to happen in America. And in 86, I was just starting to hear about soccer. Like, I had friends that played on travel teams, but I was not into the sport, and I hadn't watched it and hadn't played it. But they were telling me about, they were keeping up somehow with the 86 action and the results. And they were telling me about Diego Maradona. And I'm like, who's that? But it was later that year in 86 that I played a pickup game with these guys that were on a travel team. And they encouraged me to go out for the varsity program at high school, because they had just started a program there at my school. And several of them went to school with me. And so within a year, like less than a year after the 86 World Cup, I was playing soccer. And I fell in love with the sport. I absorbed a lot of it. I was playing in games. I was on teams. I was traveling around. And so I was experiencing the sport like at ground level, like watching it from a player's perspective and having the action zipping around me. I still was not there was no opportunity to watch it on television. But by the time, like, I remember I watched the Shot Heard Around the World, that qualifying match in 1989, where we were playing Trinidad and Tobago, and Paul Caligiuri scored the goal called the Shot Heard Around the World. And it put the United States in the World Cup. They had not been in 40 years. Since 1950, and they were going. And maybe it was only because they qualified, but TNT got the contract and they aired the 90 World Cup. And I was a student at University of Georgia watching the 90 World Cup. They hadn't figured out how to do it yet. We were still going to commercial breaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We had like Ernie Johnson Jr. was calling soccer, I think.
Trying to explain it. Yeah.
But
Bob Lee is who had to come in and be the savior for America's coverage of soccer. He is great.
But soccer coverage greatly improved between 90 and 94. They figured out how to cover it. Now we really started getting into the U.S. team a lot around 92, 93, and Kobe Jones' introduction to the team, stuff like that. Lived the 94 World Cup, completely absorbed it. I was totally in it. That Belgium-Morocco match in Orlando was my first big time match that I attended. In 96, I attended the Olympic Games in Birmingham and got to see the United States play. That U.S. Olympic team in 96 had Bruce Arena coaching, had Casey Keller in goal, Alexi Lawless, Claudio Reyna were all on that team. So it was I was drinking the Kool-Aid by that point. And I've followed the U.S. team ever since, and I've followed every World Cup since then. And of course, my favorite World Cup memories are the win against Colombia in '94
Oh yeah.
and the win against Mexico in 2002.
Oh yeah. Clint Mathis.
Mm,
Yeah,
man.
the first of the two Clints. We had two great Clints on offense, and he was the first one. Yeah. Oh boy, yeah. I always said I would go to another one, and I've never been to another one after. I was at the Italy-Nigeria first round playoff game in '94 in Foxborough, in the Patriot Stadium, and that was cool because Nigeria scored early on and led the entire game 1-0, and then right in the last few seconds, I think Baggio scored to tie it, and then they went into extra time or injury time, I forget which, and we scored again and won and went on to play I think Spain. I think they beat Spain in the next round, and then they yeah, that was the crazy year that Bulgaria had a big run and knocked Germany out. Man, I'll never forget that. They had that one big dude, looked like he's about 55, you know.
Yeah, Germany, who were the defending champions from '90,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they got eliminated early. That was a major upset.
Well, that happens a lot, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about is what's going to happen with maybe some of the defending champions and former and all. It's really crazy to imagine only 8 teams have ever won. I always say it's like college football, where you get ups, or the current NCAA tournament that's going on right now, where you get upsets and upsets and upsets, and then you still end up with North Carolina and Duke and Villanova, and you're like, so it's the same thing. You get upsets and upsets, and you still end up with Argentina or Spain or Germany or Italy or something. You won't get Italy this time, but something along those lines. It's not probably going to be the United States, Japan, Denmark, and Ecuador probably this time, as much as that would be cool.
Well, I'll say this, '94, we did not have a top flight soccer league in America at the time that World Cup was awarded to us.
We were supposed to, but we didn't.
Well, part of our bid was a promise to
Mm-hmm.
FIFA that we would have it.
Yeah.
And the legal entity of Major League Soccer was formed in 1993, but they did not begin play until 1996. So FIFA was still looking for us to deliver on our promise after the World Cup was over. But we did, and it was always going to happen. The ball got rolling in '93, and the league launched in '96, and of course there was a huge spike in popularity in the sport during that year while that event's going on in America with those stadiums filling up and all the media coverage. And so it was enough to launch the league, and the league is now in its 26th season.
Yeah.
No,
I thought it would fail in 5 years.
It's in its 27th season now. They have 28 teams competing, and they got 2 more already coming in. It's been this enormous success, and we've got the World Cup coming back in 2026, and everyone's hopeful. Everyone who is a fan of the domestic game is hopeful that if the '94 World Cup gave us this much of a legacy of the sport in our country, now that we're this established and we've got so many young Americans playing abroad, how much further can the sport go after the 26th World Cup? And it's going to be real exciting to see.
Well, I remember after the 1994 Cup, there was all this talk saying, "Oh, this was the most successful World Cup ever in terms of attendance and money and everything." And they were like, "We've got to come back to the U.S. soon." Well, it's going to be 30-something years. Yeah. So, I mean, not to be too greedy, because it hasn't gone anywhere else more than once since then. But on the other hand, it's gone to some pretty suspect places like Qatar. While it hasn't come back to the U.S. And the thought that it could go to Qatar, however you want to pronounce it, instead of North America, it just is a joke to me. I mean, we're going to be playing soccer matches around Thanksgiving and Christmas so that the players don't all drop dead from playing soccer matches in the freaking Arabian desert. It's also nuts.
Qatar is tiny, and the vast majority of it is inhospitable desert.
Right.
And even though there are, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 cities named as sites, it's really going to be basically just this one city. It's going to be in such a
Doha.
small footprint. And
Yeah.
but here's the thing. Now here's what's weird. Because of the pandemic, we got behind schedule on the qualification games around the world. And normally the World Cup would be playing this June.
Yeah.
Well, as of June of this year, we still aren't going to know who all's going to the tournament.
That's
So,
crazy.
so what would have happened to the qualification process
Yeah.
if this tournament were happening in June? I don't know. So as far as all that goes, we're lucky that it's actually not until November.
Yeah. If they were playing it in England in November, they'd all be wearing parkas and rain slicks because it'd be cold and wet. Of course, it's cold and wet England in June. But anyway. All right, so let's look at the groups. We have some. In fact, I'll throw them up here on the screen. Why not? I have the technology to do that.
Okay.
So let's do it. I always forget. I don't do as much video as I do audio. But yeah, we can do that. So let's. There we go. So for those of you that are looking on video, I'll do the audio podcast version of this too. But those looking on video, you get the extra bonus of actually seeing what I'm pointing to here. If you can see it, I'm not sure, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So we're going to zip through them real quick. But Group A has got to be the easiest group. Am I crazy? I mean, it's got Qatar. I guess I'll try to say it the way they say it. Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and the Netherlands. I know that Senegal may be underrated a little bit. And we don't know what to expect from the Dutch. They didn't even qualify last time. But overall, isn't this the easiest group?
It's got to be. If it's going to be a national embarrassment if the Netherlands don't win this group.
Yeah,
I can't imagine. Yeah. Normally my first instinct would say I'm going to predict Netherlands and Senegal to advance out of the group. But, there's a long history of the host country always doing a little bit better than you expect. And so Qatar might get a little bit of that host country bump. They're not terrible. They were actually an invited guest to the Gold Cup, to CONCACAF's Gold Cup last year. And they did well. As a matter of fact, they won their region, that they compete in, and they were coming over to CONCACAF with a chance to hold 2 different continental championships at the same time. They ended up not doing that, but they showed well in the tournament. I mean, they do have quality. So if I had to guess right now, if I had to predict right now, I'm going to take Netherlands and Qatar to advance out of this group.
Yeah, interesting. Well, they do have the host advantage, like you say, and better than people think, probably. I would have thought they have a pool of about 100 people to choose from for the team. And
but this looks like an easy group. If the U.S. had taken one of these slots, I mean, I think the Netherlands were the seeded team. No, excuse me. Qatar was the seeded team. So if the U.S. had taken one of those other slots, we would be very, very excited.
Oh, yeah. All right. And they're going to play on match day 1, November 21st. The other group that plays a couple of games on match day 1, November 21st, is Group B. And oh, hello, we are in Group B. Now, this is the thing that first jumps out to me before we even get into matchups. Correct me if I'm wrong. The U.S. has been in group G or H almost every World Cup. We're always at the end of every round, right? We always have to wait through everybody else playing through the whole week, and then we go at the end. It always seems to be that way. Always. So it is so weird to me to see the United States playing on match day 1. But on the day that this thing starts, the United States plays.
Boom. Love it.
That's pretty cool.
So a lot of that has to do with the world rankings, and the United States is in the top 20. I think last I saw they're ranked number 13. And
Crazy.
so even though they finished 3rd in CONCACAF qualifying, and Canada finished well ahead of them at the top, Canada's still ranked close to 40. They're in the low 30s, or the high 30s. And so and that's why Canada gets knocked down and is in a lower group, and the United States is here. They made it to pot 2, and so they ended up in this group. So and a very, very interesting group that we have. We have
Well,
World Cup
before we
history
talk
with
about this group, let me tell you this. I'm going to ask you about Canada because I don't think many people know a lot about them unless you're really following soccer. But we'll talk about them when we get to Canada's group because I want to see what you think.
Okay.
But I do want to point out this is a really odd group, and then we're going to break it down. I want to hear what you think. But so we've got England as the top team, obviously, and then Iran got drawn in, the United States got drawn in, and we get the UEFA Path A winners. What happened was there were 4 teams that could have been in this spot, and 2 of them played each other, and 2 of them are supposed to play each other, though that's an issue we'll get to in just a second. And then the 2 winners play each other. So you really have to go through quite the convoluted mess to find out who the 4th team is in this group. Wales beat Austria 2-1 to get one of the halves, but Ukraine, of all people, has to play Scotland, of all people, and then the winner of that one plays Wales, and that decides who's in this group. And most people think it's going to be Wales just because they're pretty good, and the others are kind of
Yeah.
So it could be England, Iran, United States, and Wales. What do you think?
I think Wales would actually be the least interesting of the 3 if they were to make it through. I think there are reasons. I would they'd be my 3rd choice, but are they the favorite? Yeah, I think they probably are. Scotland. So the problem is, of course, is that Ukraine just can't get the games played. They got other things to do right now besides play soccer.
A little busy.
So they have not been able to play their match with Scotland, and because they haven't been able to do that, Wales is sitting around waiting, like, what do we do now? So it's kind of a mess. I mean, and everybody wants to be sensitive and respectful about it. But what do you do? The days are going by on the calendar. You can't just give the spot to somebody. You need to play it out. You don't want to punish Ukraine or the Ukrainian Federation or the players because of the mess that's going on and the conflict that's going on. But probably the cleanest solution here would be if Ukraine just withdrew on their own. And that's probably what FIFA is kind of hoping happens, but they can't just tell Ukraine that they're out.
Wouldn't go over well.
You can't.
Well, and then what would happen, I guess, is that then Scotland would just play Wales, right? And the winner would be in the group.
Right. And so, but here's the thing. You don't get to just put together fixtures, dates for 2 countries to play each other whenever you want to. It has to happen within designated international windows on the FIFA calendar, because all these players play professionally for their clubs, and these clubs aren't going to let the players go unless they have to. And the FIFA windows are areas where they have to. So there's only a couple of windows between now and the World Cup. So the next one's in June. And there's already like fixtures for that window. But right now, their fingers are crossed and they're hoping that Ukraine and Scotland can get their match played in the June window. But, that's being optimistic that Ukraine is going to be in any better position then than they are now to play a game. And I think the next window is not until September. And September, we still don't know who's even going to the tournament. It's touchy. It's real tricky.
I don't know what they'll do. I mean, what if you get all the way to November and you can't get that? They can't find out who plays Wales. Because you got to play a game to play the game. You got to play the playoff to play to get the team.
And if Ukraine, let's say they get all these matches in and Ukraine qualifies, and then something happens in Ukraine,
and they can't come.
Yeah.
My gosh! Oh, what a nightmare!
So,
wow! Yeah. So So everybody's going to be rooting for Ukraine, but at the same time, FIFA will be kind of like secretly hoping it's not them.
Right, because it only opens the door for potential problems. Yeah, unfortunately.
Wow, man, crazy. Well, what do you think about our chances? Let's just say it's Wales, since they're probably the favorite. I feel like England gets a little short shrift because we think of England as like the not as accomplished maybe as some of the top pot 1 teams, but they did just get to the World Cup semifinals or whatever the last time, and they just got to the finals of the Euros in 2020. So, or 2021.
I look at England and I see an easy W. Let me tell you why. 1776. 1812. 1950 World Cup. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. We beat England 1-0.
we did. We did.
Uh, and
2010.
we were in a group with England in 2010.
Yeah,
And they talked a lot of trash before that tournament started. Guess who
they
won the
did.
group? We
We
played
did.
England to a draw, but we ended up winning the group.
On
So
Landon Donovan's goal against Algeria.
that's right. So now England is very good. They had a fantastic tournament in 2018, and they made it all the way to semifinal and lost to Croatia, I think it was. They're going to be tough, but you know what? We're going to give them a run for their money. Like
Yeah.
I have confidence in our guys. I don't know if we can beat them. I'm not going to predict a win against England, but it's possible. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. I am choosing to believe that the United States will advance out of this
I
group.
believe that we will win.
Yeah.
I believe that the goal that we scored, Clint Dempsey scored in 2010 to tie them was so ridiculous because Stevie Gerrard of Liverpool fame had a beautiful goal against us to go up and against Tim Howard to go up 1-0. And then we came back and Clint just hit this duck that waddled toward the goal, and the England keeper dove on it and got everything except the ball, and the ball trickled out behind him and just rolled if I went out in my yard and rolled a soccer ball as slow as it was moving there, it wouldn't make it to the goal. The grass would stop it from friction. But somehow that turf behind the England keeper turned to glass, and the ball just rolled casually into the goal while he was trying to turn around and scramble and grab it. It was the craziest goal I've ever seen in a way. And so 1-1 was the final score, but yeah, we won the group. That's right. And was good. So I don't know. So what about Iran?
Well, I don't know much about Iran. What I've learned about them today is that they are stronger now than they have been in a long time, and that they have done well in their area in the African region. And so we shouldn't be too quick to think of that as an easy out. I don't think they will be. It's going to be a hard fought game. We have World Cup history with Iran.
We do. 1998.
98, we were in a group with them, and we lost to them. And
we were terrible. That was our worst World Cup ever. Roger Bennett did an entire podcast series on how bad we were at that World Cup.
It was an American.
Losing 2-0 to Iran was just the crap cream on the crap cake of that World Cup.
Well, we actually finished dead last in the entire field of 32 countries.
Oh yeah, Tunisia ended up ahead of us in that one. Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of internal problems on that team that came up at the very last minute, and I think in the long run, years later now in retrospect, with more things coming to light, I end up with respect for the coach. He handled a tough situation the only way he could. And unfortunately, it came at the cost of the quality of our team, and it played out in an ugly way. It was not a fun tournament for the United States.
Every decision Steve Sampson made leading up to that World Cup turned out to be the wrong decision.
In terms of sporting, in terms of competition. And true. But there was also a human side at play.
There was.
And it was just a big mess, unfortunately. It was a shame. It was a shame because after 94, host countries automatically qualify, right? So that's why 1990 was so important. We had been awarded the 94 World Cup back in 1988. But to be able to qualify in 1990 kind of put us on the map like, hey, we're good enough to be in this game. We're not just being gifted a berth in 94. So that 90 qualification was important. 98, we made it out of the group stage in 94. We made it to the round of 16. We played Brazil on the 4th of July in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, I know, man, what a game.
And, who knows what would have happened if Leonardo hadn't cracked Tab Ramos's skull in two.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, but we had reason to be up, and our league had started, and we had started. Soccer was at at a higher profile than it had ever been going into that 98 World Cup. And we had a lot of the same stars from 94. We had every reason to be excited, and we laid an egg. We were a laughing stock. We finished dead last.
Yep.
And that's the Rams. We got a little bit, even if you put aside all the real world geopolitical history we have with Iran, we have World Cup history. We have a score. We like to settle there.
So I'd like to think we can beat Iran. I'd like to think that we can at least draw with the UEFA Path A winners. That's 4 points. Yeah. If we can get a point off England, we should be through.
We're through. We're going through. We're going through. We're going to make it.
All right. Group C is a tasty little morsel. Argentina and Mexico are the class there, and Poland's not terrible. And then Saudi Arabia is actually not playing too badly these days. So I think Group C is what I would call sneaky good. Obviously, Argentina, gets a lot of attention as the flashy team, and Mexico is a very consistent team when it comes to getting out of I think they have the record with Brazil. Mexico and Brazil are tied for getting out of the first round the most times in a row, or maybe the most times ever.
Well, Mexico's also known for never making it to the quarterfinals.
Right. I mean, they always get out of the first round. They don't get out of the second round.
Never get out of the second round. Here's the thing about
they're going to win. They're going to finish second in this group for sure.
So here's the thing. So I like Argentina and Mexico are going to be my two teams in this group. I think the whole world is going to, except for Cristiano Ronaldo fans, everybody's going to have a tremendous amount of goodwill for Messi in this tournament, for Lionel Messi. His career's coming toward the end. It's probably going to be his last World Cup, and he's never won it. And so I think a lot of people would love to see that happen. I would. I'm a big Messi fan. I'd love to see it happen. Mexico, of course, representing CONCACAF here, and I got to pull for that. But let me tell you something about Mexico. By Mexico's standards, they're struggling. They were not dominant in CONCACAF qualifying, and there's a lot of animosity toward the coach right now, Tata Martino, and they struggled and were fortunate really against some teams in qualifying that you would think they wouldn't have problems with. So they're vulnerable. If there's going to be a Mexican team that does not make it out of group stage, it would be this 2022 version. However, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Mexico is not a lot this time around,
right?
But I'll be pulling for them for sure because CONCACAF.
I don't think Saudi Arabia is going to get out. I think they'll do better than people think. They might get a couple of points. I think it's going to depend on what kind of Poland team shows up, because Poland tends to play down a little bit to what their potential is. And if Poland plays up, I think they could pip Mexico maybe by a point or something.
It's possible.
But otherwise, yeah. Group D is the France group, and France is on the one hand playing very well with great players, but on the other hand, defending champions don't tend to do well. And by the way, this is only the second World Cup being played in Asia, and what's this? Up until Germany won in Brazil, no European team had ever won a World Cup outside of Europe. Germany's the only European team to win a cup outside of Europe, but the only team to win a World Cup in Asia is Brazil. Korea, Japan.
2002, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, I think Brazil is the only team to have won a cup in every continent that they've played the World Cup, but I may be wrong about that. Certainly they've won in Europe, they won in Sweden, they won one in Brazil or Argentina or Uruguay or something, I think. And I know they won in Asia, so yeah. But anyway, France looking good. We don't know who the AFC CONMEBOL winner will be. Is that the Peru, New Zealand or something like that, I think? Let me see.
My understanding is that other playoff spot is going to be between United Arab Emirates and Australia.
This one, it's AFC CONMEBOL is AFC fourth round winner versus Peru. AFC fourth round winner is UAE versus Australia.
That's where we are.
Okay, so they've got a convoluted way to go yet too.
Yes, that's a little bit of outdated there on the screen. So that spot's going to go to either Australia or UAE.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm gonna probably have. I'm gonna think that UAE is gonna come out of that. As
Really?
far as who comes out, I mean, I guess I don't have a, I guess I don't have a lot of respect for the soccer in like Australia, New Zealand. Maybe I'll be taught a
I thought
lesson.
Australia was pretty formidable. I thought they're pretty good. Tim Cahill, right, in that crowd.
Yeah, yeah. So
We'll see.
we'll see. But I don't know. I don't know who joins France out of this group.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's kind of a mystery. It could be Denmark. It could be whoever they are, Australia or UAE. It could. I mean, yeah, it's a really strange. It's like it's very top heavy group.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah, this is kind of a mystery. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought of it. It even has a question mark in there. Group E is the group of death. I think we can agree. It's also we used to be fascist group. I was really wishing that Italy was in there with Germany and Japan and Spain. That would really be nice. But clearly, Spain and Germany in the same group makes that the toughest group. You got to think, right? And Japan's not a pushover. And then CONCACAF OFC, this would be the Costa Rica versus New Zealand winner. Yeah.
So I'll tell you this. I don't think that I agree that if you're trying to designate one of these groups as the group of death, it would be this one. I think you have to call this one the toughest one. But as groups of death go, historically speaking, it's not that intimidating. You know, there's a lot of balance in this draw. I think it's going to be a very competitive field.
I agree.
Which is going to make a more interesting tournament. But yeah, Spain and Germany in the same group, it adds up to making this the toughest one. I totally agree with that. Let me tell you about Costa Rica.
I was going to say it's Costa Rica. They're playing really well right now.
They're playing fantastically. So there were 14. So because of COVID and rearranging the schedule, blah, 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 instead of the CONCACAF playing the traditional hex, which is getting down to the final 6, playing in a round robin, we played the Ocho. Okay, we had the final 8. And it's only because we expanded from 6 to 8 that Canada made it into the final qualifying round.
Whoa, really?
If they had played the hex, Canada would not have qualified.
Wow.
So
and then they won the group.
Then they won the group running away.
Unbelievable.
Yep. They turned it on and turned the corner at the exact right time.
All right. We're going to talk about Canada in a minute, though. So Spain.
Let me tell you about. I got a story on Costa Rica now. Through the first half of qualifying of the Ocho. Okay, so for the first 7 matches that started back in September, they only had like 6 points or something out of it. They were way down on the table. They were behind Panama. They were behind Jamaica. They were not doing well. I think they were probably 6th place out of 8 teams. Only the top 3 are guaranteed to go to the World Cup, and that 4th place ends up in this playoff that they're in now. Yeah. So, but what happened? See, here's the deal with Costa Rica. They were in the same situation that the United States was in for the cycle leading up to the 2018 World Cup, meaning that they had this generation of players that they'd seen a lot of success with, and they loved them, but they stuck with them just a little too long, and age caught up in that. You know, international game is very fast, and so it hurt us. We stuck with our aging players. We depended on them too much, and we ended up getting eliminated during that cycle leading up to 2018. What Costa Rica did, they found themselves struggling at the bottom of the table in the middle of the Ocho. There's 7 matches left, and they're way down at the bottom, and they go radical youth movement right in the middle of qualifying. And they bring in all these guys, all these teenagers, all these domestic-based Costa Rican players. And of 21 available points in the final 7 matches, they took 19 points out of 21.
I saw they had their run of form over 6 with the U.S. was 5 wins and a draw. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, they are, in terms of best form, current form, they are the best team in CONCACAF at the moment. They're better than Canada. They came roaring back, and on the final day, had a mathematical chance to finish in the top 3. They're coming in great form and with a lot of confidence, and they're going to steamroll over New Zealand. You can put Costa Rica into this group right now.
The all whites will be all black and blue by the time Los Ticos get through with them. Is that fair to say? And then And then they'll be right in the middle of the group of death. Wow.
Yeah, then they're going to run into Spain and Germany, and they have a short tournament. I do expect Spain and Germany to be the ones to advance.
Yeah, they can beat Japan, but they're going to have to find a way to get a point or two off of, I doubt, unless Germany. Well, Germany's got a new coach, so they're kind of starting over again too. They got rid of my favorite coach's name, Juggy Love. That's just like either a porn star or a German soccer coach, Juggy Love. And so they're starting kind of over too. I don't think Spain is. I mean, Spain has a different coach now too, right? Than they had through their whole big glorious era. I think they do. So, all right. So that's the group of death, Group E. Here's the one with Canada. We've been wanting to talk about them a little bit. This is an interesting group, honestly, too. When you consider that Belgium and Croatia are they are third place World Cup teams recently, or if not second, right? Second and third place. And then Morocco was dominant. I don't think Morocco dropped a point qualifying in North Africa. Yeah, I think they blew through their qualifying. And then Canada has been so good. So this is really a sneaky good group.
Here's the thing. Belgium, up until I think the most recent world rankings that were just released, Belgium has been number one this year for most of the year.
The golden generation.
Highly ranked. I think Brazil's now just this week has gone to the top of the rankings. But Belgium is one of the best teams in the world. And up until last week was ranked number one. Croatia, they were the team that beat England in the semifinals in 2018. And you have to expect that they're going to be, once again, one of the best teams in the tournament. And now you're telling me Morocco steamrolled through their qualification.
There you go. Morocco last lost on January 30th to Egypt. And then they won, drew, won, and then drew with Mauritania on March 26th. That's in the wrong order. That's weird. But anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Of course, I don't know how good their competition was, but still, to win that much is pretty good. So we'll see. I mean, that's again, and then Canada. Tell us a little bit about Canada, though. Where did they come from? How do they suddenly have a team that's competitive when they've never been any good at all?
Canada has been an amazing story. It's been an amazing, heartwarming story to watch. The last time they played in the World Cup was 1986. They have not been a very good soccer nation in those 35-something years. They, of course, have 3 teams in MLS now, and they have started a second division that they call the Canadian Premier League. But what you have is a team that has come together. John Herdman is the manager. John Herdman is someone who took the Canadian women's team to the World Cup, and now he has turned around and done the same thing with the men's team.
Wow, that's impressive.
Herdman's got his team figured out. You've got a team here where I think it has to do with chemistry and buy-in with what the manager's doing and just having a good manager, because a lot of these players, there's a lot of MLS representation on this squad, either current active MLS players like Jonathan Osorio, Mark Anthony Kaye, or former MLS players like Kyle Aaron and Tajon Buchanan, who was just with the Revolution last year and has been sold to Europe. And then you've got some that are not only came out of MLS, but came out of the academy system, like Alfonzo Davies. And Alfonzo Davies is an attacking fullback. He is a world-class talent who can dominate a match from the fullback position. I had the pleasure of watching him take it to the United States at the qualification match in Nashville last September. He's a scary, rare talent. He plays for Bayern Munich now. He came out of Vancouver. He came out of the Vancouver academy system, played for the Whitecaps, and they got sold as a teenager to Bayern Munich. And he dominates that team and dominates the Bundesliga. And they won the club they won Champions League. They won UEFA Champions League and turned around and won the Club World Cup. So Alfonso Davies has done that. Now, since then, Christian Pulisic has done the same thing for Chelsea. But Alfonso Davies is one of the best players in the world, and it's not controversial to say that. And Jonathan David is a forward they have that is probably the best striker in all of CONCACAF. And I can just say this is, even though I don't call myself a Canada fan and I didn't go out of my way to get into the team, I can now name probably 10 players on their squad without even I didn't even try to get familiar with them. I just have. They, for whatever reason, they have come together in a big way. And they have, it's been fun to watch. It's been wonderful to watch. And you got to feel great for any Canadian soccer fans. They're coming in excited and thrilled to finally qualify for a World Cup. And if they could play right now, if they could have the tournament now, or if the tournament were in June, I would like their chances better. But now we're waiting until November, and you're going up against Belgium and Croatia and Morocco. I don't know if Canada knows what they're getting into. I mean, they're kind of new to the dance. I want to pull for them. They've got my heart, but I just don't see how it's going to happen for them, objectively speaking.
It's just so weird to see Canada on there. Let
me tell you what Canada did. Canada went down to Mexico and beat Mexico. They went down. They came down to the United States and played us to a draw. They were better than Mexico and the United States over the course of the Ocho, the qualifying cycle, the final 8 teams that started back in September and just ended last week. They are quality. They're quality. And they've done it with domestic players. They've done it with MLS players and a few that have since been sold abroad and are doing well over there. But my goodness, this is time for big boy soccer. We'll see what they're made of.
It's just a sneaky good group. I tell you, I'm going to be enjoying watching every bit of it because, like I say, I'd love to see Canada do well. But I think that Belgium, I think Croatia are both good. Morocco may be coming up short, even though they're playing well, because they may not have played the same level of competition.
I'm going to give you a hot take. Give you a hot take, okay? So let's rewind the calendar about 12 months. United States versus Mexico. We played Mexico in the Nations League final, which is an international competition that's played like a league. It uses a table. You play everybody once, blah, blah, blah. We played our A team against their A team in that final last June. We beat them. Turn around to the Gold Cup the next month. They play their same A squad. We play our B squad that's almost all MLS. We beat them in the final. Then in December, we play them World Cup qualifying at home, and we beat them. We beat Mexico 3 times in a row in 3 big, important matches. And then most recently, we went down to Mexico City, and we never won. And I think in all time have only come away with 1 point total in all of history. And we went down there, and we came away with a point. And so we've played them in 4 meaningful matches in a row in less than 12 months, and they have 0 wins against us. So I'm going to give you this hot take. Mexico, the 4 CONCACAF teams in this tournament are Canada, United States, Mexico, and Costa Rica. And Mexico is in 4th place among those 4. They are the worst CONCACAF team.
Wow, man. All right. Well, it's always interesting to see how the CONCACAF teams do in the World Cup because it's a combination of different styles and the fact that they've played different competition maybe, and they're not used to these big European teams and then the big South American teams. So it's always fun to see. Group G is the Brazil group. I feel like we kind of swap positions with Brazil because usually Brazil's near the beginning and we're near the end, and this time it's the other way around. Serbia, we know, is a good, solid team always. Switzerland is always a good. And Cameroon, of course, is like the most successful African team, really, in terms of getting the World Cup and doing well over the years. They're always there. There's no Nigeria this year. I think Nigeria's been kind of the second place African team, but they're not there. Here's an interesting Switzerland story. I think it was the 2006 World Cup. Switzerland did not lose a game in the opening round, and they did not concede a goal in the opening round, and they did not advance to the second round. That seems impossible, doesn't it? They didn't lose a time, and they didn't concede a goal. Do you know why they didn't advance the second round?
Well, I'm guessing it must have been 3 0-0 matches, and they only had 3
They
points.
They did not score a goal, and they ended up with 3 points. 0-0, 0-0, 0-0.
They were
and
done.
there was a team with 6 and a team with 4, and they had 3. And I mean, they were great on defense. Nobody could score on them. I forgot who was in their group. There were 2 other really good teams in their group that they held scoreless, but they couldn't score. So, you got to have a little offense. You can't just play defense and park the bus in front of the goal. So that's always my lasting impression of Switzerland. I think they were also the team that the U.S. beat in
94
or tied in the Silverdome in 94 in the opening match.
Yes, that's right. That's right. It was the first day of the tournament.
And the previous time we played on the first day or second day, yeah.
Right, well, because we're the hosts, we played the first game. It was in the Silverdome. We played Switzerland, and I was in Orlando getting ready to go to the Belgium. I was in Florida getting ready to go to the Belgium-Morocco game, and I was watching United States-Switzerland. I saw Eric Winalda score our goal from the free kick. He's wearing the denim with the white stars, and we ended up winning 1-1. And I was so excited. I'm so hyped up on the soccer. The World Cup's in America, blah, blah. Guess what day that match was played on? June 17th, 1994. The United States earning a result in the World Cup might have led SportsCenter, but there was this white Bronco.
That day.
It was that day.
There's a 30 for 30 on that day.
And the United States playing Switzerland is a part of that day.
Yeah. Yeah, because Waldo, or Winaldo, whichever one to call him, got the free kick, and I think we tied him, right?
Yep, we tied him.
We tied Switzerland.
We beat
Colombia and lost to Romania.
And there's a whole 30-30 involving us beating Colombia. We don't need to get into that. Unfortunately.
Yeah, with Escobar. Although when I think Escobar today, I think Pablo Escobar and the Auburn basketball Twitter mafia, but that's a whole other story. So I don't know what to think out of this group either. I come into this thing feeling like I can have I came into this thinking I'll have firm opinions about the 2 teams that are going to advance. And then I look at them. It's like you said, there really is a lot of balance. I look at them and I'm like, in previous years, all I had to do was glance at the groups. I'm like, oh yeah, those 2 teams are going to advance. This year I'm looking at the groups and going, man, I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure.
The U.S. played a friendly against Switzerland about a year ago in the lead up to that Nations League playoff in June.
Yeah.
And Switzerland, they're, sometimes Switzerland can be one of those European teams that as European teams go, they might be a little vulnerable, but no, I mean, they're solid. They're a solid team. And Cameroon, always seems to surprise people and overperform.
They do.
And then you can never discount Serbia either. So outside of Brazil, I do see I can make an argument for any of those other 3. It's hard to call.
Is it just me? I feel like the Eastern European teams, the thing that kind of they seem to have in common historically, they're just tough. They're just like tough dudes that you wouldn't want to run into in the alley. You know what I mean? They always just look like they not to stereotype them too much, but they just look like tough, rough guys that don't take any crap off anybody. And they probably just put out their cigarette to come over and punch you in the face. That's how they always come across to me. And I mean that as a compliment. Okay. And, the Croatians are that way. The Serbians are that way. I respect them tremendously in terms of you can't take a win for granted against those guys. So, yeah.
I'm sure it's never fun to play any of them.
And then we got Group H.
Group H.
Hell, geez. Oh, God, I hate that. Portugal, who moves up to pot 1 because of no Italy. Ghana. I just want to thank the football gods. We dodged. I mean, if you think of not playing Ghana as dodging the bullet, I mean, who knows? But that's the way it always comes across to American fans is, oh, no, here comes Ghana again, backing up over us and then running us over and then backing up over us again. We came really we were joking, and I was joking with other people on Twitter this afternoon before the draw about, oh yeah, we're going to get Ghana. Yeah, we're going to get Ghana. But I'm thinking, come on, if with 32 teams, what are the odds that we'll get Ghana? And when it came down, this is the thing. When it came down to who would be the fourth team in our group, and Ghana was like one of 5 teams left, and they picked one, and I could see the little as he unrolled it, and it didn't say GHANA or what GHANA, and I'm like, oh, good. And they're like, oh, they can't be in that group. They have to go on down. And I'm like, oh no. And then they roll. There's 4. Then they unroll the next one, and it wasn't Ghana. And I'm like, yes. And they go, oh, it can't be. I'm like, come on. I'm like, they're just gonna keep shoving them on down until they get to Ghana. Watch. And then they didn't. Thank goodness.
It was so close. It would have been hilarious. And it, on one hand, it'd be like, okay, England, Iran, and Ghana. There's a bunch of World Cup history in all 3 of those. But,
no doubt.
For a little bit of variety, I guess I'm glad it's broken up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, they just seem to present matchup problems and preparation problems for us every time, and I just assume not deal with them, not even in the second round. I mean, God bless them. I hope if we don't win that they go all the way to the finals or whatever. That would be awesome, but I just don't want to play them again. It's just, see, David, this is the same thing as an Auburn fan that I always say about Wisconsin. I'm like, I don't have anything against Wisconsin. I just don't want to play them in a bowl game again.
Right.
I'm just tired of seeing them in January every year. You know what I mean? So, right. Yeah, same with Ghana. So you got to think. I mean, Portugal and Ghana really, unless Uruguay somehow pulls something out of the hat.
I think Portugal is going to advance, and I think it's going to come down to Ghana and Uruguay. I could see that going either way. Uruguay, historically, big picture, going all the way back to the beginning of the World Cup, they've won a couple of titles. Right now they are Luis Suarez and everybody else. So and he's not getting any younger. So we will see. I like them. I like watching them play. They feel like Argentina Junior to me. I want them well. So we'll see.
I've got a Uruguay jersey somewhere upstairs in my closet. I have a lot, but I have one just because I enjoyed what they did in the last one or the one before that. All right, so there you go. And I just want to flip over for a second and tell you, on Monday, November the 21st, we play the last game of the day at 1:00 Central, 2:00 Eastern. So this is interesting. This is the first time I've looked at it, and I'm kind of excited. This is going to be one of those World Cups where the games are in the morning and the afternoon, not at night.
Yes.
So the games are the windows is 5. All right. So let me I'm going to give Central Time because that's where you and I are, and that's the only time that really counts in the world as far as I'm concerned. the game windows are 4 a.m. Central. Man, I hope we don't get in that window. 8 a.m. Central. 4 a.m., 7 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Central, and 1 p.m. Central. And fortunately, the United States plays at 1 p.m. Central on that Monday, the very first day. We play our second match at 1 p.m. Central on Friday, November the 25th against England. That is the Friday after Thanksgiving, and it is the day before the Iron Bowl.
I'm telling you right now, that is going to be the most watched soccer game in our history. There's going to be very little competing for eyeballs on that day. Everybody's going to be home from work. It's the United States versus England in the World Cup. It is going to be, and it's a perfect time of day to watch it. It is going to be off the chain. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for that day.
It will. That'll be the only thing I know going on that day is the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, which is usually a good game, but I agree. I pick people we're flipping over to England, United States. Let's see. Our third match will be we're at 1 p.m. all 3 games. They know what side of their toast is buttered on. Yeah.
They're looking at the home time zones of the countries and working with that as much as they can. So I appreciate that. Whoever kept an eye on that. So that's good.
Nice job, FIFA. So we play Iran Iran, number one. Russia, number one. Bama, number one. I always do this on the
I
wish.
need some Iron Sheik Hulk Hogan gifs right now. Some memes right now. That is going to be awesome.
That's my bit, my everybody's favorite bit that I do on the AU Wishbone is whenever we talk about Alabama, I do the whole Bama, Iran number one, Russia number one, Bama number one, and then I play. There we go. So that's my whole thing right there. Now you've experienced the greatest part of the Wishbone. Now, congratulations. And my wife is upstairs in bed going, "What are they doing down there?" Yeah. So that'll be 1:00 Central on the next to last. No. On November 29th, and then we'll have to sit back and wait for the whole thing to be over because we will probably be the runners up maybe of Group B, and we will play probably the Netherlands in the very first match of the round of 16 at 9 a.m. on Saturday, December 3rd. This thing's going way into December.
Okay, that's fine. We're going to play the Netherlands. I'll take it. I'm ready. I'm ready.
If we actually somehow win our group, we would play the runners up of Group A, which will be, yeah, probably. Oh boy,
yeah.
We certainly won't have the home field advantage there, the home desert advantage.
I'll take it. I'm excited. We're going to talk about our team in a second here, but we have a great team. The only question is, are we great enough right now? We are such a young team that we would actually be age eligible for the Olympics. We're being, and I think this crop that we have is going to be in their prime in 2026, playing at home in the next World Cup. So we have a lot of reason to be very excited and optimistic about our chances to go deep in the 26 tournament. But as far as
about time, it's about time. How many years have we been waiting for the talent to develop to that point? My gosh.
Hey, we have starters on Champions League teams. We have Pulisic's playing for Chelsea. We've got Weston McKennie playing for Juventus. We have Serginho Dest playing for Barcelona. It's crazy the profile of the clubs where we have our guys starting and starring and contributing. And it's at the same time, we're young. We got a lot of teenagers, and a lot of people under the age of 23. That makes us age eligible for the Olympics. It's going to be a question of how well they're going to do against players a lot older than them. We have a lot of talent and we have a lot of potential, but we're not seasoned. And it may take that 26 Cup before we're really seeing the full potential. But you got
to go for it when you have the chance, though, right? You got to go.
Yes, we're going to be a team of confident fighters, and we do have the talent. And I'm excited. I'm more confident in this team than I have been for an American team since 2002. And I do believe we will advance out of the group, and all you got to do is win one more game out of that, and you're in the quarterfinals. I'm predicting quarterfinal run for us this time. I'm going to say quarterfinals
this time.
Yeah, this
quarterfinal this time. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now that is me being optimistic. That's me putting a lot of belief in them. We're also capable of some disastrous results, but we absolutely have the capability of reaching the quarterfinals. It is possible.
I think, and I'm just totally guessing here based on how it's structured, I think if we were to beat, say, the Netherlands in the second round, I think we would probably get Argentina or France, maybe.
And that'd probably be the end of our run.
That would bring it to a crashing halt. Fun while it lasted, boys.
Yeah.
I may be wrong about that, though. So talk a little bit about this year's team then. What do we need to know? Because like I said, I know almost nothing about this team. I kind of lost track of them when they didn't qualify. I know Pulisic that plays for Chelsea and is good. That's the only thing I know. And Burkhalter, our former player, is the coach. It's always, isn't it funny? The most successful coaches, it seems like in sports, are never like the Joe Montanas, and whatever. It's always like the tight end on that team or the offensive lineman on that team. And I never saw Greg Berhalter as like one of our stars, but yet here he is doing really well as a coach.
Yeah, so I had the pleasure of seeing Greg Berhalter play in person when he was with the United States, and so it's fun for me to have been around long enough as a fan and follow the program long enough to see this sort of thing happen, where a player comes up and is now is the manager. He is somewhat. First of all, if you'll recall, the 2002 quarterfinal match against Germany,
Oh.
we ended up losing that game, but with a little controversy,
Yeah.
right? There was a defender for Germany, Frings, who clearly committed a handball at the goal line.
Oh yeah.
That
Absolutely.
that
Didn't get called.
we had scored, we would have ended up in the semifinals, the final four.
Unbelievable.
And at the time, they didn't have video review, and so there's nothing that could be done. Guess who took that shot that Frings had to stop with his hand?
No way.
Berhalter.
Whoa! I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow.
But
that German goalkeeper went on to be the player of the tournament too, the MVP.
Oliver Kahn, he was a scary dude. All right, so
I got toasted Frings though. I was going to say I remember toasting Frings, and I've always said that when I get Frings, I prefer them toasting.
Good, I like that. All right. So Berhalter is someone who, as a manager, kind of learned the Dutch game. Right, he played a little bit in the Eredivisie in his playing career, and he is someone who's very analytical and he's very detailed. He's got a very specific system that he wants players to play. So everybody has a very specific role. There's very specific decisions he wants them making. If A then B kind of stuff. And when he and he started his coaching career in Major League Soccer with the Columbus Crew. When he came, so let's rewind the clock real quick. 2017, we're trying to qualify for the 2018 World Cup, and we are holding on to players that are that they proved that they were too old, really. Father Time caught up with them, and we rode them all the way to the final day of qualification. We're talking about players that we love, that we had tremendous amount of success with. Okay, Tim Howard, Clint Dempsey, one of the best of all time, right? Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, Omar Gonzalez. But the problem is that we had a gap, a generational gap of either talent or development, where that next crop of players that we should have been phasing in, that younger crop, wasn't there. Okay, so this first manifests with our inability to qualify for the Olympics in 2012 or 2014. We failed to make the Olympic field, and it's that talent that should have been there helping us out in qualification for 2018. We didn't have those young players, so we were stuck with this aging crop. And on the final day of qualification, Bruce Arena went with the same team that had just played 3 days prior, and they were out of gas and they got beat. They were too slow, and we lost in Trinidad and Tobago and failed to make the World Cup. And what happened after that is Bruce Arena turned in his resignation, and we went full youth movement. None of those players came back, and we started giving debuts to teenagers. And we had a lost year where we didn't hire our real manager. We had an interim for all of 2018, which some people saw that as a missed opportunity because the World Cup hadn't been played yet. Like that's like bonus time to get your next manager in and have another year of development with your national team while everybody else is getting ready for the World Cup. You already know you're missing out on that. So you can just get a head start on the next cycle. You can have a 5-year cycle instead of a 4-year cycle. But we didn't do that. We took a year to even hire somebody. And Berhalter comes in playing this very detailed coaching style from Major League Soccer, and it was like he was trying to coach the team like a club team, but you don't have the players very much on the national program. You only get them a few days at a time here and there throughout the year, and we weren't getting results early on, and it didn't look like it was going to work out. And I don't know where the adjustment took place. I don't know if the players bought in or if it clicked. Berhalter probably made his own adjustments at how he approached it, but it started working. We started getting results. And so right now we have a team that's full of players, unprecedented in terms of the types of clubs that they're playing for in Europe, and the potential is unlimited. I mean, everything's on the table for 2026. I'm saying that right now.
So, Pulisic is obviously, what position does he play? Is he a forward or is he a midfielder?
He is a forward. He plays on the wing. So he's usually playing left wing for the United States. So we can step through each position group, but I can tell you that our top players, the biggest names, right, in terms of most exciting players in our program, Christian Pulisic's there. Gio Reyna, who is the son of Claudio Reyna, is probably my favorite player on the team. And he's fantastic talent. Serginho Dest is an attacking defender who plays for Barcelona. Weston McKennie is bossing the midfield for Juventus. Okay. Starting 11 for Juventus.
Yeah.
Teammates with Cristiano Ronaldo.
That's not something we're used to having happen, is our players be on those teams.
Not only is he playing for Juventus, he's in the starting 11 alongside Cristiano. But the Juventus manager has recently said that McKinney's untouchable. He's the one guy on his squad he's not letting go of. And he came out of the Dallas Academy. So you put Pulisic, Reyna, Dest, McKennie, and then there's Tyler Adams, who's a defensive midfielder. He plays for Red Bull Leipzig in Austria. Am I right on that? Or is that Germany?
Leipzig in Germany.
It's Germany. And he's probably our most critical player. He's a vocal leader on the field, defensive midfielder, and he always knows exactly where to be. We play a style where our fullbacks, our outside defenders, are very often way up the field in the attack. And Adams is the guy who is aware of where the cover needs to be when the ball turns over and our fullbacks are out of position. He always seems to be in the exact same spot. And many call him the most valuable player we have. So those are the big names. But we'll get into this more. But Reyna's not even starting, and he's one of the biggest names. Now he is coming off an injury, but
he's been hurt. That was my understanding. He's been hurt. Yeah,
he got hurt in the first qualifying window of the Ocho back in September for the United States, and he just recently has started being able to put in 90 minutes again for his club, Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga. But we're so stacked at winger, Van. We're so stacked. We're putting quality on the bench because there's no room for them on the field.
That's crazy. I can't even fathom us being in that position. I'm trying to find a good graphic to put up. Let's see if that one works. Yeah, that's good. Nope. There we go. I just can't imagine us being in the situation where we have players that play on teams like Juventus and Chelsea and everything. This is very very unusual for the United States, and it certainly is promising.
It is. So our two goalkeepers, our top two goalkeepers. Let's start at the back and work our way through. Okay.
Yeah.
Our two biggest question marks right now are at goalkeeper and at center forward or striker. Our goalkeeper situation is our top two guys are English Premier League goalkeepers.
Wow. Okay.
They both come from Major League Soccer. Zach Steffen is from the Columbus Crew, and he has been with Manchester City for several years now and has spent time on loan, but he's with Manchester City now. And Matt Turner has just been sold to Arsenal. And as a matter of fact, he's still with New England Revolution until June. He's been nursing an injury and hasn't been playing, but he's on his way to Arsenal. So we have our two goalkeepers are Premier League goalkeepers, but they also are not the regular number one goalkeepers. So they're not getting, Turner hasn't gotten there yet. He's just been sold. But they're not getting Premier League minutes. They're getting cup minutes, right, in secondary competitions. And Turner was getting all the minutes in New England, and now he's going to Arsenal, where, more power to him. It's awesome. But our top 2 goalkeepers are now guys that aren't getting a lot of minutes on the field, so that becomes a question. And with Turner hurt recently, Stefan played these final qualification matches, and he didn't have a great showing. And so it's an open question as to who our number 1 goalkeeper is right now.
Interesting.
But both those guys are good.
We had such a great run of goalkeepers for so many years, going all the way back to Casey Keller and Brad Friedel all the way up through Timmy, that it's just hard to imagine us not having a dominant goalkeeper. It's always been kind of our thing.
It has. And Matt Turner, I'm going to say, is probably the better shot stopper. And Stefan has been the person who's been better with his feet and better with distribution and controlling the box, but he's been shaky lately. So I'm probably a Matt Turner guy, but I got a feeling Berhalter's probably still a Zach Stefan guy. So that is one of the few areas on the field that is definitely still an open question. So we'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
As far as defense goes, our what has emerged in the last year has been a center back pairing of Walker Zimmerman and Miles Robinson. Both these guys play in Major League Soccer. Zimmerman plays for Nashville and Robinson plays for Atlanta, and they have both emerged as dominant. They're both tall. They're good on set pieces. They're good at one-on-one defending. Zimmerman has emerged as a vocal leader on the team. Miles came into his own during the Nations League and Gold Cup last year. And when qualifications started in the fall, Zimmerman wasn't even called into camp, but he was brought in due to injury to somebody else. And he's now become one of the most important leaders on the team. And Major League Soccer is good when it comes to defense. And that's one of the strengths, and maybe one of the biggest strengths on our team, is this pair of Major League Soccer defenders in the middle there. So our defense starts with Zimmerman and Robinson in the middle. We typically play a 4-3-3, but we play a 4-3-3 with fullbacks that still push up into the attack all the time. And so you start getting rotations all around the field. So the midfielders start dropping back to cover for them. But on the outside, the defender positions, on the left side, the number 1 guy, his name is Anthony Robinson, but he doesn't go by Anthony. Nobody in his life calls him that. It's so rare that it sounds weird when he hears the word Anthony, because he's known exclusively as Jedi. He's a big Star Wars fan. So you're going to hear people with a straight face get on TV and talk about Jedi Robinson. And it's still weird for me to say Jedi, but it's weird for him to hear Anthony. And so we're trying to respect, what the player goes by in his life. So Jedi Robinson is our left side defender.
I hope he uses some of that telekinesis to make the ball move and stuff,
He plays for Fulham in the Premier League. And when he's one of those guys, young guys, who got his debut after we were eliminated in 2017. And when we had that lost year with an interim coach, he came in during those matches and he wasn't good. And he made some really bad, obvious mistakes. And it gave everybody a bad first impression of him. But what's happened is that he has emerged as the lockdown starter on the left side there. He's fantastic at overlapping runs. He's fantastic at service into the box. And he's able to combine with Pulisic on the left side. And you can always count on him, and his engine's always going. He's one of our best players. I mean, I'm going to say that about everybody. We have such a good team. On the right side, our top choice right side fullback is Serginho Dest. Serginho Dest was someone who could have played for the Netherlands, and he chose the United States. And he is the starter in Barcelona. He was teammates with Lionel Messi before Messi left for Paris. So we have a Barcelona defender over here who's fantastic.
That's crazy. I can't imagine all this.
And he's someone, the knock against him is that he doesn't like to defend. Right? He's playing that fullback position, but he's always in the attack. He's got fantastic technical skills on the ball, and he can do amazing things from distance. He's a special talent. But in games where we think the opponent's going to have more of the ball, and we need to be a little more solid and a little less risky in defense, he may not start. That's how totally dedicated and focused he is on being involved in the attack and running forward. And he's a special world-class talent in that regard. But if you need him to stay home and defend, he's probably not going to be your guy. Our midfield, we play a 4-3-3. Our top choice midfield is Eunice Musa, Weston McKennie, and Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams is the number 6, which means the defensive midfielder, and I've already talked about him. He's the de facto captain, whether or not he's wearing the armband or not. He's a very vocal guy. He sees everything. He's always taking instruction from the sideline and communicating it. He's the cool head when you need a cool head, and then he's the hot head mixing it up with the opponents when that needs to happen. He's got a very smart head for the game. He always knows exactly where to be, and he's got an engine that doesn't quit. So Tyler Adams, many people call him the most important piece of our lineup. Weston McKennie, he's the guy that plays for Juventus, and the manager there says is untouchable. He's an incredible player. He has a broken foot right now, and he missed these most recent qualifications. So we got to hope that he's ready in time for our warm-up matches. Eunice Musa is a teenager who could have played for England, and he could have played for, I don't know, Ghana. There's like 4 or 5 national teams he could have played for, and he chose the United States. And his calmness on the ball, his decisions with the ball, you would never guess he was a teenager. That's him, number 6, far left on the front row. That's Eunice Musa. He is in a grown man's body, and he plays with a maturity beyond his years. And Weston McKennie is the number 8 right next to him, and that's Tyler Adams, number 4, right in the middle. That's our 3. Those are our 3 top midfielders, and that we call that our MMA midfield. That's Musa, McKennie, and Adams. They're so good that it's keeping Reyna off the field because we're playing Reyna at winger, but his preferred position is in the middle. If we could play him at center midfield, spraying the ball out to our wingers, it would be incredible. But these guys right here are so solid in the midfield that we can't think about breaking them up. This is a special. Now again, we're not seasoned, right? We're talented, but we're not seasoned, and we're probably going to have to earn our stripes in this World Cup. But this is still going to be our core in 26. These are players that you need to get to know. These are names that need to be familiar because I'm telling you, it's a special generation of players.
Which goalkeeper is that?
That's Zach Steffen.
Okay. So number 1 that we're seeing on the screen for those that are listening. Yeah. All right. That's cool.
Yes.
And I don't see Pulisic there, right? He wasn't on this.
He's not, he's not in that squad. I don't know what game we're looking at right now.
I'm just finding different pictures of, here's a different group. Let's see. I'm just finding some different pictures to see. There's he is. So that's
okay. So front row, left to right. That's Eunice Musa wearing number 8 in this photo. Kellen Acosta, he now plays for LAFC in Major League Soccer. He has emerged for the United States as the backup to Tyler Adams, defensive midfield. That's not where he plays his club ball, but he's proven to be very reliable there. That's Serginho Dest, number 2. He's our Barcelona defender who loves to attack.
Wow.
He's awesome. Christian Pulisic next to him, number 10. And that's Reyna on the end, Gio Reyna.
Yeah.
Jedi Robinson is second from the left on the back row.
You see him?
Yep. And again, Zach Steffen is the goalkeeper. Those other guys, a couple of them are still involved with the program, but none of them are starters.
Okay.
So the next position group I want to tell you about is the wingers. Okay, so on the left side, Christian Pulisic. I mean, he's playing our left wing, and whenever he's available, he's in. That's where he goes. The right wing is alternate. We have competition from 3 players. They all deserve to be starting. Gio Reyna is, again, probably my favorite player on the squad, but he's also losing time to Tim Weah. Tim Weah is incredible. I mean, it's just incredible. All these guys are just awesome. And then Brendan Aronson, who came out of Philadelphia and is now playing for Red Bull Augsburg, the Austrian Red Bull club, and he's been doing fantastic over there. The Leeds United was just trying to buy him for like $20 million, and Red Bull wouldn't let him go. I mean, that's
Wow.
Brendan Aronson. And he's so silky smooth on the ball. When he's running vertical, that's him in the front right there, number 11. I think. Oh, that's not Josh Sargent. Let me get a good look.
Well, it went away. I had a lovely photo there. Let me see if I can. We'll just leave that one up then.
Yes, that's Brendan Aronson, number 11 in the front row, second from the left.
Okay.
This looks like this might be Nashville. This might be the game I was at. That's Matt Turner in the red, goalkeeper. That's Matt Turner. And Miles Robinson is next to him on our right. He's the defender from Atlanta. That is not Nashville. That is. I'm trying to read the banner there, but anyway. So Weah, Aronson, and Reyna are all competing for time on the right wing. All of them are special talents. Backing up both the left and right side on the wing are MLS players that are also solid, but they're not going to crack the starting lineup. So whenever what Reyna's been doing recently is coming in as a sub and immediately raising the class of the team as soon as he steps on the field. And he's so good. He's so focused on attacking and combining and timing the through balls. And when he plays in the middle, he's able to combine with Pulisic. And that is fun to watch. The problem is it's hard to get him in the middle when we have our MMA midfield going on. So it's going to be a challenge. Go back to that picture you were just on. So the back row, far left, that's Tim Weah.
Oh, they did it to me again. I keep thinking whoa. All right, there you go. Just leave it with this one. Okay.
That's Tim Weah on the back far left, and Walker Zimmerman, our other defenders to our right of him. So what the position I did not talk about was our number 9, the traditional number 9, which is our center forward or our striker. Mm-hmm. He's the guy that you expect to score goals for you. And we have nobody who's really stepped up and taken over that position. That is our biggest hole by far. We don't know who our number 9 is. We've had multiple guys take shots at it. And as soon as they score a couple of goals, everybody gets hopeful that he's the answer. But then they get off that hot run and we still are left with no answers. So right now, most recently, we've had Ricardo Pepe and Jesus Ferreira and Jordan Pefok competing for time in that position. And nobody has emerged as dominant. My favorite out of that group right now is probably Ferreira, but we don't have anybody that's proven to be a superstar yet in that spot. It is wide open. If somebody in Major League Soccer gets hot between now and November and scores a bunch of goals,
they'll be on the team.
He's American. He could play in the World Cup. I mean, it's wide open. We might not have even seen the guy scoring for us from that position in Qatar. He might not even have his first cap yet. I mean, the competition's wide open.
This is what you call a walk-on. Bringing in a walk-on.
Ricardo Pepe, he's the guy in the middle of the back row back there that you see. He had a fantastic meteoric rise for Dallas last year. Got sold to Europe, where he has proceeded to score exactly 0 goals. He saved us in September. Scored a couple of key goals for us. He scored 3 goals for the United States in his first 2 appearances. And we were like, we found him. He's the golden child. There's our number 9. Ricardo Pepe, we're good now. But he hasn't scored since. And so we're still looking for that number 9. Now, the thought I've had, and I've seen nobody, I follow a lot of Twitter accounts, listen to a lot of podcasts, blah, blah, listen to a lot of guys whose job is to be able to figure out what to do here. I've heard no one say this yet, but in my mind, if you don't have anybody stepping up and dominating that number 9 position, and at the same time, you're stacked up too deep at winger, and one of your best wingers, Giovanni Reyna, wants to play in the middle, what I say is you put him in what's called a false 9, which means he takes that center forward spot, But he's not someone who stays around the box and becomes a target for the wingers or anything. But instead, he looks to drop back and combine spray passes and almost be like a playmaking forward, almost like a playmaking midfield stuck in a forward position. That's a false nine. And I think this is just me spitballing here, but why not put Reyna in the middle where he wants to be? Give him a chance to drop back and combine with Pulisic and Weah or Aronson and get all our best players on the team. Even if that's not his natural position, let's get our best players on the team, on the field at the same time, and let's see what happens. But to recap, defense, awesome. Attacking fullbacks, our secret weapon. Our MMA midfield, impenetrable. World-class wingers stacked up so deep we can't even play them all. So we have a little bit of question who's our number one goalkeeper.
We need to make a trade.
Yeah. And we have a big gaping hole at striker.
Yeah.
But everything else, I mean, the 9 other positions on the field, I am super, super excited about.
That's not an uncommon problem. That's a problem as a fan of Italy that I've experienced with Italy over the years, is that like the Roberto Baggios are few and far between, and they would often struggle with finding the one person that could go up there. You know, Alessandro Del Piero played that role for a while. They spent 5 minutes with Giuseppe Signori in that role, Christian Vieri in that role. You know, they've tried over the years to find somebody to do that, but Italy's such a defensive-minded team that they want like a magician they can just stick up there and score goals magically while everybody else plays defense, and it just doesn't always work out that way. So what do you think is going to happen in that situation then?
I would put a pin on that question. Don't forget that question, okay? But before we go there, I want to tell you something about Tim Weah that might blow your mind.
Okay.
He's number 21. You see him on the left there standing up. He's a right-sided winger for us. He's probably our starting winger. He's truly a joy to watch play. His father is the president of the country of Liberia. His father is a head of state.
Whoa. But not for the one he plays for.
Right. That's exactly right.
Wow.
His father is the president.
Well, how did he wind up in the U.S. team then?
Dual citizenship.
Yeah, the old FIFA magic. Same. Well, I was the same way we got that French guy on the '98 team that didn't work out.
Okay. So his father, George Weah, is the president of Liberia, and he served in the Senate, but he played professional soccer, and George Weah is Liberian, but during his playing career, he fathered Tim Weah, and Tim Weah, I should specify, was born in New York. So he's American by birth. You have not only did his father play, he's now a head of state.
Yeah. I remember that name for sure. That's why when you said it, I'm like, that sounds familiar to me. I bet it's the son or something. So yeah.
So anyway, I just think that's kind of astounding. But anyway, what was your question?
So where's all this going then? What's going to happen in terms of trying to find that extra player and trying to get things together? I mean, and how far can we get if we never do find the totem at forward?
Well, you know, if we don't find that guy, we're going to be depending on our wingers. We're going to be depending on Pulisic and Weah, and probably Reyna. Although Reyna may be the best player we have. He's my favorite player, but there might not even be a spot for him in the 11 because of how good we are in his positions. But bringing him on as a super sub to bring energy and just like a infusion of quality into the second half of a match could really do a lot to change matches. We can still do it. We can still succeed without a number 9 emerging. We really can. Berhalter has already said that he's going to take advantage of the international windows that we do have between now and November to bring in his top guys and give them as many minutes together as he can. Here's the thing that's special about this team. They're all young. They have all come up together through the youth program. These guys have been playing together since they were like 13, 14 years old. So Pulisic and Adams, you see them with their arms around each other on the right side of that. of that picture. They've literally have grown up together, and they're still growing up together.
Yeah.
And the bond that these guys have for each other and with each other, it can't be understated. The locker room and the chemistry is absolutely on point. I mean, it's very, very strong in terms of locker room. This is probably the best United States has ever been. And
Not 1998, huh?
oh my goodness,
No
the
fiasco this time.
yeah, we're light years away from that. So, and teams that are short on talent but big on chemistry, they you see it all the time in sports
Oh
all
yeah.
over the place. They can come through. So these guys battle for each other. They to see the bond they have and the love they have for each other and the joy they have playing with each other. It's so much fun to watch these guys. I've fallen in love with this team. It's gonna be a great ride.
I'm very excited. I didn't after what happened in 2018, I'd about given up hope for a little while, and it's nice to see it restored. And
Well, let me tell you, that was rock bottom, right? That night, 2017
yeah.
in Trinidad.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we lost. The program was in shambles. We gutted it. We none of those guys ever came back, right? They never came back. And we went full youth movement with an interim coach. We played meaningless matches for over a year, literally meaningless matches. Lame duck, when everybody else was building up to the World Cup that we knew we were eliminated from. Something that we hadn't been in that position since 1988.
No, David, I tell you right now, like I said, the first World Cup I paid any attention to at all was 90, and the first one I really followed closely was 94. I had never seen us not be in the World Cup.
Right.
Until 2018.
Yeah. So we lost a lot of fans, lost a lot of interest for good reason. We were not good. We had no direction. We didn't even know who our coach was.
Does that all go back to our German coach a couple of coaches back? It seemed like that's when things went south.
Yeah, that was Jurgen Klinsmann.
Klinsmann, yeah,
hero of 1990, and he famously did not get along with Landon Donovan. He famously refused to call Donovan into the 2014 World Cup squad. So we got Donovan for one less World Cup in his career than we should have. He was a lightning rod controversy at the time because he kept saying that it was almost like he was bringing a Euro snob mentality to the United States program. He's like, y'all got to play in Europe. Don't waste your time here. If you're going to get good, you got to go over there. And people didn't really like hearing that or the way he handled the way he said it. But he's been proven right. And he put a big focus when he was in charge. He put a big focus on the technical development, like at the younger levels, at the youth levels, and kind of organizing that program and unifying that program. And this is the youth crop that has come up that started in the Klinsmann era, and now here we are. Yeah. So time has vindicated Jurgen Klinsmann's
that's interesting
stay with the United States. Now we had that we had this developmental gap, a generational gap, a missing generation of soccer talent that first started showing itself by failing to qualify for the Olympics in 2012, 2014. And because that generation was missing, we stuck with our old guys too long and we failed to qualify in 2018. What's happened is that this team, what is now younger than that missing generation, and they have now stepped up and are performing at this level, and that's fantastic. But they should be at the Olympics. Our missing generation should be theirs. This should be their World Cup.
Right.
This group we have now that I'm so excited about, their World Cup, so to speak, is not until next time.
Right.
But these guys should be our Olympic team. They're now playing up a level, but what's resulted though is that we have once again failed to qualify for last year's Olympics because our best guys were playing for the senior team, and and so I mean, if you put this squad in the Olympics, it's a joke. It's like the NBA Dream Team in the first Olympics they played in. So the future is there is no ceiling. The ceiling is so far away you can't see it for the future. Now, I'm not saying 2022, but
Right.
these guys are. There's a lot of teenagers here. Reina is a teenager. Musa is a teenager. A lot of these guys are under 23. They're going to be around for maybe 3 more World Cups.
All right. Well, I think we're getting late here. We'll go ahead and wrap things up. But this was great. This was great. I'm sure that I certainly learned a lot. And I hope that our viewers and our listeners did too. David and I will return periodically as things go along, and because we're certainly excited about the World Cup. And we will talk again down the road a bit, and then hopefully during the actual World Cup itself, we'll pretty much be as you know, during Game of Thrones, John used to say that we could just broadcast hourly. So maybe you and I could just broadcast hourly for that month. Who knows?
Well, I believe the next window for the United States is going to be June. I would love to do a preview show leading into those matches, and then a review show after they're over with. We can do that for each window. I know June and September, that may be the only time we see them in action between now and the World Cup. But whenever you want to have me on, man, I'm glad to talk.
Very good. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. We actually got a few comments, folks checking in on YouTube. I figured most of our viewers were probably on Twitter tonight. We've had a couple of people checking in on YouTube, but this will be up recorded for folks to come back in and see it later. So, all right, David, have a good rest of the evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, go USA.